Welcome, everybody. Welcome back. This is episode 10. We're going to be talking about the things that you need to know and hear about dentistry. So, I'm going to open up just a little window of a little bit of the management side of it and why certain decisions are made by management and some of the things that we complain about. Um, this is one of my favorite topics, actually. And just to give my words a little bit of weight for those of you that may not know me, I want to let you know that I've been doing this for about 23 years. And just like most of you, actually, I've been in a couple offices that have taught me some really good lessons. Um, so I also had right before I came in, actually, I had a real good conversation with one of my friends. His name's Octavio Guerra. Some of you might know him, but he gave me actually we talked about most of this information. So he's I'll talk to you guys a little more about him towards the end. But one of the things that I wanted to tell you guys is, you know, the office, as far as the dental office, it's a business. I when I first when I first got into dentistry, I obviously didn't really understand that, and you know, especially like with being in high numbers in the back office. I remember it was probably like, I don't know, maybe 12 of us, and when we didn't like something, we kind of rallied together and we made a big deal out of it, and sometimes we got our way, and sometimes, certain things happened. Someone got fired, or someone got sent home, or something. Something always happened, and we were always kind of like sticking up for each other, which is great. That's a great thing. Um, but I started to realize as I got more and more involved with dentistry and with the management side is that um, the assistants that really stick out and that stick around longer are the ones that go above and beyond. And I I would like to consider myself that I'm one of those assistants that understands the business side of dentistry, and that's why I think I'm able to also make myself a little more valuable and help more of the things that happen in the office. So, one of the things that assistants will frown upon is some of the decisions that management makes, and I mean I've done it myself for sure. And um, there's some instances where we think that we're not treated equal, um, and we make a big deal out of it. And why not, right? Give me a sec. I'm just gonna bring something up here. Let's see. All right. So, when we bring stuff up like that, we tend to we do say all the right things, as far as for equality, but sometimes, now that I have a different perspective, it's sometimes out of context. Like, for example, if your days are cut or your hours are cut, I think we don't, as assistants, we don't really think of why, or or why me. Everyone is always like, why me? So one of the things is that we should look at ourselves and we should ask if we're participating in making the office successful. And that is a huge thing that management and doctors look at. Whether you work for a corporate office or a private office, doesn't matter. Even if you're the only one in the office and it's just you, the doctor in the front office, um, it's something that they all look at. Um, and I'm not to say that there are no office that actually don't, that mistreat you, and there's a good reason for it. I mean, you should never get mistreated. But as far as decisions when it comes to when it comes to management and who's working, who's not working, who gets the hours, and who does. That I can tell you right now that it comes down to who's making the office successful. Um, you know, although we don't directly deal with any of the money, um, you should always be aware of where your office is at for the day, for the month, or whatever, and help out with that. Whether it's making phone calls or and the best thing that we can do for our office to be successful is um, make good relationships with our patients. Because when we make good relationships with our patients, the patients want to come back. They want to come back. They get the treatment done. Um, Eventually, they bring in their relatives or their children, and that's how it works. So, you know, being aware of the business as far as goals and all that, it's just not. You can do it on a day-to-day basis, but knowing the overall is going to give you a real good picture of what's going on. And talk to your doctor, talk to your manager, ask them, hey, how are we doing? What do we need or what's going on? If your office doesn't have those goals and it's just a day to day come in and go and no one talks about it, that's a tough place to be. Um, so it makes sense. If the office does well, we do well. There's room for hiring. So if you're working your ass off and you need help and the doctor is not able to hire someone, let's start making the office successful. And as that happens, more money comes in, so they can hire someone, get you some help, things slow down, less stress. I mean, I we just had a conversation about this at work too, and I was just thinking a lot about it, and that's one of the reasons that I decided to throw some of this other information in that you're going to be hearing in a little bit. But let me just give you a scenario as far as like what I'm talking about when it comes to helping out with the office being successful. I don't mean, get out there and do marketing. I mean, you can, but what I mean is let me give you this example. So let's say a patient comes in and the insurance sucks that they have. It doesn't pay anything. Everything's low fees. And not only that, let's just say the patient is a nice person, and and they come in, but they never get anything done. Like never. They come in every single CCX. I mean, it's been years. It just get CCX. They don't want their SRPs done. They don't want their crown done. They don't want their fillings done. They don't want anything done. They just come in. They want the regular cleaning and they leave. They don't even pay attention to the doctor as far as what they need or anything. So, you know, to me, uh, when a patient neglects their teeth that much, and you try and you try and you try all the time, I mean, you can only do so much. You can't force them to do the treatment. But what I'm saying is, if you're sitting there as an assistant and you're talking your ass off, uh, trying to explain to them when, who, where, why, and you have another patient in another room that's a CCX, great patient, or it's a new patient that's possibly going to start some treatment, but you're taking all the time in this room, uh, you know, to me, honestly, it's a little bit of a waste of time. We already know the patterns of this guy, and I would rather spend my time over here getting some quality time with this new patient or this CCX, and this all translates also to assistance. If you're the type of assistant that at the end of the day there's a crown to get done, but I've seen this done too. I've seen assistants sabotage the patient just so that they can go home, you know, and I mean that's just crazy. It's crazy. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you have been in offices where there's some pretty sneaky shit going on, and um, it's when you start to when you do that kind of stuff. I'll tell you right now, management notices it. They really do. So like when we as assistants start to talk about, oh, I don't get to do this, or I don't get that, or how come gets this, or I don't, you really got to look at yourself and ask, what are you doing? What are you doing for the office to make it successful? Just because you show up and just because you have the title of assistant or EF, if you're not contributing to the office, if you're not making things easier, if you're not helping make the office successful, or if you're not helping them carry out the agenda for the day, for the month, for the year, um, you're not gonna make it. You're not gonna be. And I'll tell you right now, it is not equal. It's not equal. It's not, because the hard worker, the one who makes it happen, gets catered to and gets more breaks, and they just make sure that they keep them. They do. They make sure that they're gonna keep that assistant. Um, if you're not showing up to work, you know, or you're sabotaging patients, or you're just coming in, clocking in, doing the minimum, going home, I mean, it gets noticed. And not only that, the other assistants are noticing also. So helping the office is gonna help yourself. There's no, I mentioned this before. There's no office that deliberately is unsuccessful so that they don't have to give their assistants a raise. I can guarantee you that. Um, true assistants are aware of the money indirectly. Through giving patients the experience that they need so that they can continue coming back. Um, so which one are you? Which assistant are you? Where are you at? You know, and and just because maybe you're not there doesn't mean you can't get there. If you are at an office where the morale is just it's zero, the morale is zero. I mean, you're at an office where you don't learn anything, you don't continue doing anything, you can't strive. There's no ladder to climb. Um, that's I've been there, and as hard as it was, I quit, and it took me maybe 2 to 3 weeks to find another job. But the what I had to give up so that I can continue on to another office, uh, and maybe not pay some bills or whatever, I I I sacrificed that because I knew that in that office nothing was going to happen for me. And so you actually have to be aware of that too, because I know assistants that they're stuck in a job and they're okay with it, but they're not, I don't know, what do you call it? They're not awake. They don't they're okay with the status quo. They don't, I guess they just, maybe they don't like what they do. I don't know. And they're okay not doing anything or going above and beyond. I would say to them is quit the industry, go do something else, something that makes you happy. Um, what drives you? Or like I said, are you clocking in, clocking out, and just doing the minimum, or are you clocking in to make a difference? So, as treatment gets done, um, with certain assistants, and the doctor starts asking for that certain assistant, hey, I want to work with him or I want to work with her. It's not the doctor's fault that they only want to work with him or her, because that assistant makes them better. That's how uh, they make the patient understand a lot better what they need. It goes smoother, and they make more money in return. So you can't blame the doctors or management for wanting to keep somebody, because they're always going to look at that person that tries to make the office successful and is aware of that. And making a difference and is it's not easy either, especially if you're at an office where you're with a lot of assistants. I mean, I'm at an office right now with 5 assistants, including me. Um, I I know assistants that are in mega offices with 27 operatories, and there's 15, 16 assistants. It's that's that's a race, man. That's definitely a race. And how do you stand out in an office like that? You just do your best. To me, it would be a little bit of a competition. I'm competitive, so I know that I would definitely try to be different and unique, and try to stand out. Um, I know one tactic I use and I'm going to share this with you. I know one tactic that I use to give myself value in the office. Yeah. So one of the things that I do is I tell patients all the time, if there's any problem or if you have any questions, although I'm not the doctor, I heard their treatment plan, and that doesn't mean that I'm gonna answer the questions as a doctor. They can just call and ask for me, and I'll get it taken care of for them. But I've mentioned it to a lot of my patients where I tell them, hey, if you have any questions or you need me to explain this to you again, I don't care. I'll explain it 2, 3 more times. Just call and ask for me. I'll take care of you. They love that. They love it. And when they walk in, you know what they say? Is Trini here? Why? Because they know that I'm going to take care of them. And that's one of my tactics that you guys can use if you want. But you can't just talk the talk. You know what I mean? You gotta do it. You gotta do it. So now that I give you guys one of my little tactics there, let me continue on here. So um, we need to step into the shoes of the ownership when we have a complaint. So when we give a complaint, it's easy to just go up to your manager or to your boss and say, hey, you know what, this is what's going on, it needs to be fixed. Well, how much better would it be if when you complained about something, you either already took care of it or you had a solution? I mean, if you really don't have a solution, I know, yeah, you want to have a conversation with them, but just the fact that you walked into the room or office and told them about what's going on also says that you care. But if you're not saying anything or you're not trying to do anything about it, that stands out too. I can tell you right now that I've seen assistants where they see a problem, they don't say anything, they just keep doing what they're doing, clock out, boom, I'm out. It really does depend on what environment you're at. I understand, and I know that I've been in environments where even the manager didn't care, and even the doctors didn't care. I mean, it was just such a dead place to work, and you just honestly you have to get out of there if that's where you're at. But you know, once you get to a point where you're more aware of what's going on, you're you're aware of the agenda of the office, and the office becomes successful, and you start to see bonuses, you start to see raises, you start to see more help, you start to see more supplies, you start to see growth in the office. There's more doctor days, there's more this, there's more that. That is all going to come with its own growing pains, but it is still growth. It's still growth. And there was it this year? Yeah, I think it was this year. We had At work, we had like back to back to back to back bonuses. It was great. And we were like, we were on fire, dude. It was so cool. And we lived it for quite a few months, man. It was really good. And I can't tell you guys how much of a high I had, going through those months. And now that I think back, it's just we were on it. We still made our mistakes, but we were on it. Everybody was on it. Everybody was part of the team. Everyone's a damn team there. So there's no reason that when you have a complaint that you can't keep even somebody else accountable for what they're supposed to do. You don't have to be a manager to keep somebody accountable. You don't have to be a lead assistant to keep somebody accountable. You're a team. You're like family members. If someone doesn't do something, someone drops the ball, just go up to them. You don't have to offend them. You don't have to insult them. You just say, hey, man, come on, let's, what the heck? What's going on? Let's do this. Or pick up the slack for them and then tell them. You know what I mean? even even with like uh, new assistants that have been there 2 3 months. I've seen assistants that have been there for 6 7 years at an office. An assistant comes in, they've been there 6 months to a year, and if they're making it happen, the doctor caters to them. They want to work with them. And the guy that's been there 10 years is like, what's going on? He's claiming seniority, but seniority doesn't always come through, man. And I know that. So, you gotta step it up, man. You gotta really step it up. One of the other things is with us complaining about certain things. I I I've never really been a complainer, even though there are things that I want to complain about. I know that they're gonna get sorted out, and I watch out for certain things. If it doesn't get sorted out, then I say something. But if it's that big of a problem, then I'll say something. But most of the time, the things that we complain about is like, I have to go to the gym, so I can't stay. I um, I've been working real hard, so today I get to go home. Um, I want my full hour of lunch, so I don't want to stay with the doctor to do a new prep during lunch. I, you know, a lot of this starts with and it's fine. We have to take care of ourselves, but we're the ones that walked into the office and asked for an application. You understand what I mean? We're the ones that walked in and said, "Hey, give me a job." And one of the things that I understand is when somebody gives you a job, they're telling you, "Hey, I'm gonna give you this, but you're gonna do this for me. So here's this at the end of every 2 weeks because you're doing this, right?" But then that thing they're supposed to be doing all of a sudden sometimes doesn't get done or doesn't get done right, but the money is still getting paid to me or to you. So where's the miscommunication? What happened? What happened? How come? You know, I've heard assistants complain like, "Oh, I don't do that," or "I don't want to do that." What do you mean? Do you not understand how it works? Like, you do this and I pay you. You mean it's very simple, but we don't tend to understand that sometimes, And as far as uh complaining about the lunches and all that, and I know there's a lot of us that get underpaid, that are already underpaid, and we feel underpaid and overworked, and you just have to get through it, man. No matter what, keeping a positive attitude through that, keeping the hard work, the ethics through that is to me, was the only thing that I can go home with and say, okay, I did a good job. And complainers, we have to realize, whether it's me complaining or you or anybody else complaining, we have to realize that complaining doesn't help whatever's going on. So when we complain and constantly complain, we get labeled as the complainer. In fact, I've seen other assistants complain to a certain assistant because they know that they're going to go and say something. So sometimes we even get used by other assistants because they know that we're the brave one. We're going to go say something. Go tell them this, go say that. Hey, guess what? This happened. And then they know, oh, he's going to go tell them. How come they don't go tell them? You know what I mean? So be careful. Be careful about what you complain about. If it's an everyday thing, like having to do too many of this or too many of that, or if it's just part of the job, I I don't know. I just don't. You know, we had we had a hygienist one time in a meeting say that, well, she was new, and she said my trash can, my trash bag wasn't changed. And I I couldn't believe she said that, honestly, because the day before she finished early, she got her stuff and went home, and in the morning she walked in and said that her trash bag hadn't been changed, and you know, luckily we had a reasonable doctor at the time where I was at, and she said, well, how come you didn't change it? You know, and she said it in front of everybody, and she felt stupid. You know, she even said, oh, I didn't know I was supposed to. Well, what? I mean, I don't know. That's just crazy to me. It's just crazy. So, the other thing that I wanted to mention to you guys, as we jump from one office to another, or get one job and then go to another job because they're paying you an extra dollar, or they're paying you this, or they're giving you these benefits, whatever it is that you feel that was a jump up for you. um, don't burn bridges, guys. Don't burn bridges. Don't talk shit about offices. Don't talk about doctors. Don't talk about managers. As much as you want to, you gotta keep it to a minimum, and you gotta be careful who you say it to, because the industry is small. It's very small. You never know when you're gonna see that person again, when you're gonna have to work with them again. Um, I have a story for you guys about that. Let me just mention a couple other things, and I'll tell you guys the story. So, um, the main message I want to give you guys is, are you helping or hurting the office? Which one are you? And I really hope that you guys really try to think about this. Because from our perspective as assistants, we feel we deserve it all, and we do, but we have to get there. We have to earn it, and whatever your complaints about, try to address it yourself first. Don't be the complainer. Don't be that person everyone looks at and they're like, "Oh my God, here she comes," or "Here he comes." Um, and like I said, you don't have to be a manager to hold someone accountable for whatever is going on. Instead of going to complain, just tell the person, say, "Hey, what happened, dude? You were supposed to get this, and you're supposed to do that." You know, let's step it up and hold some of our coworkers accountable. We're a team. We're supposed to be able to talk to each other. Let's act like a damn team. So let me tell you guys this story, about my boy. His name's Octavio Guerra, and I saw some of you. Well, anyways, some of you are gonna are gonna have something to say about my story, but I really don't care. So, um, he started off where I started off. We're at an office with a lot of people, and he started off knowing nothing about dentistry, and he came in as a receptionist. So when he first came in, uh, most of the assistants, the managers, I mean, everybody, they mocked him, and they made fun of him, and they talked shit. And I don't know, honestly, I don't know how he did it sometimes, but he just kind of tuned it all out, and he did his work. He did his job, and I know now from speaking with him that it gave him that fire. For people to say stuff, it gave him that fire. Like if he did something wrong, he would be like, all right, I'm gonna get this right now, and I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna do it well, and I'm gonna do it better than everybody. So it gave him that fire. But um, let's just make this story short. But let's jump. I don't know, 15 years later. A lot of these people that made fun of him or gave him a hard time, it came around full circle. And this is what I mean by don't burn your bridges. Is he made himself a name in the industry. He became he became a treatment coordinator. The person that talks to the patients about finances. and he was so good at it that he went from an assistant directly to that. And he can tell you. I'm gonna have him on here one of these episodes, um, so he can tell you his story. But he went directly from an assistant because he sucked. He sucked, so he went directly from an assistant to treatment coordinator, and from treatment coordinator, he went to training other treatment coordinators, and from training other treatment coordinators, he went to manager, and from manager, he went to regional manager, and now he has his own consultation business for doctors. It's called Eight Management. So look him up. His name's Octavio Guerra. Good guy. If you guys get a chance to work with him, uh, take that opportunity. He's a good guy. Um, but that's all I got for you guys today. And thank you for listening. Thank you, Silly Panda Media, the blacksmith. Appreciate it. Um, Thank you guys for watching, tuning in. Remember, every Wednesday, 8 p.m., I'm here. Next episode, I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do, but I got something good for you guys. So, in the episode of the last week for this month, I got an oral surgeon coming in, and we're going to have a real good conversation. You guys are going to enjoy it. So, thanks for tuning in, you guys. Again, my name's Trinidad Mora. I'm your host, and peace out.